I'm Andrea Lee Matthews, writer, photographer, and clairvoyant medium, and this is the Bold, Brave Woman Project. This podcast is a living, breathing unfolding of what it really means to step into our becoming. Born from the ashes of a failed YouTube channel, this weekly podcast brings you real, unfiltered moments of failure, of bravery, and of deep intuitive knowing so that you too can step into who you're becoming with even more trust and bravery. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Bold, Brave Woman Project. Today, I want to talk about how to keep the faith in yourself and what you're moving towards, even when things feel like they're not progressing. And the reason I want to talk about this is something that's been cropping up for me a little bit lately, especially with all of these big dreams and ambitions that are starting to awaken within me, and I'm starting to take steps towards this new creative and photographic and new version of myself. But some days I wake up and I look around and I think everything looks exactly the same as it did yesterday, as it did last week. Is this really working? And the answer is always yes. Yes, it is. And sometimes the progress that is happening for us is something that we can't see. Even although we're making the moves, we're making the steps, we're doing the inner work, we're progressing, and the reality isn't necessarily changing around us that we can see through our eyes or experience with our senses just yet. But there's a whole invisible field of energy, of quantum reality that is shifting, that is changing, especially when we're doing the inner work to change who we are and how we're stepping up into this reality. That quantum field is changing, even although we can't see it. And it is so that the work and the world that we're really craving for can come to fruition. Now, this can be really, really challenging, and this is something that I've sat with a lot this week because it is so easy to fall into the old trap, the old conditioning, the old emotion that I'm still stuck or I'm not moving forward, particularly in society when we have this construct called time and we have this whole process that's going on within our body that is aging. There are some days where I wake up and I'm like, oh, I've just spent another week working on this thing, yet I don't have anything tangible yet to show for it. Or, I'm another 6 months, 12 months older. Have I really progressed in the way that I thought I should, or that I thought I would? Or am I achieving the things according to what a 42-year-old should have achieved or have or do by now? And this age, this time construct can really, if you let it, run away with you, and your mind just goes down these rabbit holes. And sometimes you can end up in that place of despair of like, well, no, I'm not. And I should have had this and I should have had that. And we get into this should mindset, and all of a sudden we are just feeling that sense of lack, and we're feeling that sense of I'm a failure, or I'm not where I should be, nothing is working, and we end up in that negative spiral. And we all know what happens when that spiral takes hold. We end up back into that place of nothing's working. What am I doing this for? And that type of thinking is what actually puts us back into energetic stasis. It's not that we can't see the things that are unfolding. They're not the things that are creating the stasis. It's this thinking that we're not progressing, because it's like slamming the gates down on any progress, any abundance that's flowing through to us. It just closes that off immediately. The question then becomes, how do we stay motivated and connected to the greater vision, connected to ourselves, to who we're becoming in those moments when it feels like nothing is progressing? And what I think is the key here is to create the vision so big and so bright and so brave for ourselves that continues to reignite this passion, this spark, this motivation to keep stepping forward. I'm going to be really honest. There are still days where I wake up and I'm like, what on earth am I doing? Like, this journey of entrepreneurship, of creativity, of being an artist, and particularly starting new in a creative field like photography, like essentially I'm having to start at the bottom because I never studied photography when I was in school. You know, I've waited until my 40th years to decide to pick up a camera and to decide to reawaken all of this need to express and to see and to translate beauty in the world. And there are moments, particularly this week, because it's been quite a big week, where I've woken up and I'm like, what on earth am I doing? Like, just go and get a job in the corporate world again. Like, go back to the safe, go back to the familiar, lean back on all of the strategic skills that you have. Like, just make all of this stop, essentially. This doubt, this questioning, this having to wake up and keep pushing, keep making brave moves. Like, just stop it and go back to where it's safe. That thought has crossed my mind more times than I like to count. But here's the thing. I made a commitment to myself, as I'm sure you did too, to be a bold, brave woman who forges a path, who does what she really wants to do, what is sitting in the base of her soul that is calling to her to at least try, to acknowledge, to walk forward. That calling is the thing that keeps stirring within me in those moments where I'm like, just make this stop, just go back and get a job, just go back into the corporate world, back into that high level where you don't have to worry about income. Everything's taken care of. Someone tells you what to do when you show up at work every day. You do it, you go home, you take your holidays. Life is grand. But here's the thing. That dialogue of life is grand is just a scarcity, safety craving mechanism and conditioning in my brain that isn't real. Because I can guarantee you, and you might know this within your soul too, that if you go back to that familiar or that safe construct that is old and just exists within your mind, you'll get 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, it's usually not even that long, down the track of going back into the old, and you'll be like, what have I done? And I know this for myself. I'd be there and I'd be like, what have I done? Like, I just gave up on everything in those moments that it was hard. In those moments where I couldn't see the tangible translation in my reality of the things that I was building because I was afraid to hold on. I didn't think I was strong enough to hold on, to keep stepping forward. And now I'm back in a reality. Like, I can feel the emotion coming up as I'm saying this because I know this is exactly what would happen. I've put myself back into this corporate reality or back into this safe, quote unquote, reality, but it's not what I want. Yeah, it might be safe. I might be having a regular paycheck come in, but really, is that enough? And knowing that the money is there when, of course, society demands income, expenses. We've got increased living costs going on right now, but is just having that safety of going back into this old paradigm of that paycheck enough to really fulfill my soul? This is a legitimate question that I will be asking, and I know myself so well that in that moment that I'm asking myself that question and I'm feeling the constriction or I'm feeling the shaving of who I am off to fit back into that corporate box just to exist, I'll be asking that hard question of, why did I abandon myself? Like, is this worth it? Is having to exist within this reality of, yes, financial safety, but unhappiness of everything else, is that truly and deeply better than holding on in terms of finding my bravery, allowing my quantum reality to match my current reality of the life that I want to have? Is it worth it? That will be a question that I will have to face And having been someone that has gone back into the corporate world, back into the safety net of a job in so many different careers, having transitioned from so many different careers, I know what the answer will be. And the answer will be, I wish I had trusted myself enough to follow what my soul was telling me to do. I wish I had given myself the support to breathe, to know that even on those mornings when I wake up and the current reality, like the place that I'm still living and the bank account that I still see, I wish I'd given it enough time and enough trust to catch up with who I know myself to truly be. I wish I'd held on long enough. I know that is exactly what I'll say. And that is the reason why in these moments, when it feels like nothing is working, when it feels like you haven't progressed and you're stuck, you're still in the old paradigm, it's why I know that it's important for me to hold on. And this is the big important key. Sometimes these fears feel like truth. They're so used to being translated in our bodies as truth, these fears, that we think they're real. That we're like, well, of course I have to go back, or of course I'm unsafe. Because this fear has been here so long, it's part of me. The voice gets so familiar that it feels real. But there's a big difference between feeling real and actually being true, like being the truth of your soul. And listening to those fears as we do, and then acting from that place of contraction, of fear, of scarcity, it has the power to knock us completely off the trajectory that we're meant to be on. I know for me, being brave and continually choosing bravery, continually choosing trust, that is part of this journey. And I choose to do that for as long as it takes. And that scares the hell out of me most of the time. I'm like, what am I doing this for? Especially on the days where I'm tired or I'm exhausted. When I'm tired, it's so easy for those old fears and that old scarcity to just creep in and take over. I think in the last episode I shared that I was meeting this brand new photography mentor for the first time. I was just heading out to have lunch with her. And I did, and it was amazing. She's incredible. We had this beautiful chat and coffee, and she agreed to mentor me. And a couple of days later, I went along to a shoot that she was doing, a boudoir shoot in her brand new studio that she's just set up. I spent the whole day with her setting up the set, photographing and working with the model, and then right through the process of editing the photos, doing all the adjustments right to the final cut. And it was incredible. I fully acknowledge this is an experience that we don't normally get. And I'm just so grateful that I sent that cold email to ask her for this mentorship, because it completely changed everything for me. In that, being on that set, there was a part of me that was awake, that was alive, that was like, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. Like working one-on-one in this intimate setting, really reaching into the depths of their soul to reawaken their passion, their power, their sexuality, and expressing that through the camera. It set my soul on fire. I got home that night and I felt amazing. But the next day, I woke up and was all over the map emotionally. And I was so confused because I was like, how can I come off the back of such an empowered day, such a knowing state of this is what I want, this is what I want to move into, to waking up the next day feeling like exhausted and overwhelmed. I was like, what is this energy? And I sat with it for a little bit and I was like, what is going on here? And what was happening was this quantum stretch. I'd found another beautiful part of my soul journey that was unfolding, but all of a sudden, all of my doubt, all of my scarcity, all of my worry was on board, and it was just completely exhausting myself. I didn't realize I had this unconscious undercurrent of what if going on. Like, what if I can't afford it? What if? And it overnight and during the morning had just completely depleted me, that I had gone from this massive high down into the, well, how and what and am I good enough, and all of this kind of like just clumpy type energy and emotion that just brought me all the way down. And the other thing that I decided to do, which in hindsight, perhaps a little bit of a mistake, but I thought, oh, well, now that I'm wanting to go on this beautiful trajectory of going down the pathway of photography and really embracing this stuff and becoming a master at my skills in this space, I'm going to do my finances and my accounting, my end of financial year stuff to, just put everything in this beautiful space of cleanliness, so that when I start to embrace this new passion and whatever path this takes me on, the abundance is coming into a clean slate. And oh my goodness, through a process of like looking at financial stuff, which, when you're an entrepreneur, there's highs and lows in our businesses. There's peaks and troughs. And sometimes those troughs get really, really loud and the doubt comes in. And so I just compounded all of these feelings of doubt of, well, I'm not a millionaire yet, so what's the point? Is any of this working? It's like, oh my goodness. I got to the end of trying to get all my finances done this day, and I was an absolute wreck and a mess, and had convinced myself that everything was impossible, nothing was going to turn around, and I should just forget it all. And the roller coaster of this emotion is so, so intense. The next day, I did some clearing work, some grounding work. I'm like, no, this is great. I've got this opportunity. There's a reason why this was brought to me. Like, keep coming back to, if something gets put on your path, if a door opens, if an idea sparks and takes flight, there's a reason. That's not random. I never believe in it being random. It is timing, and it is energetic intention. And if there's something that we're meant to be doing, the universe will put us on that path, and there's a reason for that. There's a learning, there's an expansion, there's a door opening or a new identity that's about to be burst or come through. We have to trust that. And so I was like, no, okay, there's a reason for this. So I got the financial stuff, to the point where I can now hand it over to an accountant, even though it wasn't a fun process. But I thought, right, now I'm going to go down to my brother-in-law's, because he said he's got some more camera gear, some more things that I can borrow, because I'm going to book this incredible shoot on Sunday. It was a portfolio building shoot. I'm going to book in, even though I know I'm not ready, I'm going to book into this professional studio-based portfolio shoot. And it was a fantasy shoot. I'm going to do it on Sunday because I really want to make this happen. And even though I'm terrified, even although I'm questioning everything and I know on paper I'm not ready, I need to just keep diving in. I need to keep being brave. I need to keep making these moves to make this, but like allow this dream to continue to unfold, to allow the trust to build in myself. And the only way to build trust is for us to make these big, bold moves. And so I paid the investment to go to this shoot on Sunday, and I thought, right, well, I need to go and get more camera gear, just because like I'm starting with nothing really, just this borrowed stuff from my beautiful brother-in-law. So I drove down, it's like a 2-hour drive each way, drove down to their farm and got to spend some time with them, picked up the camera gear, bought it all back, like drove all the way back. This was Friday by this point, and the shoot was on Sunday. Talk about tight timelines, but sometimes we just got to do it, right? So I got all the way back. My husband, he was visiting with his father, so I had the house to myself, and I pulled all the gear out and I just started playing with it. And I was already exhausted because I had burnt through so much adrenaline and anticipation for, meeting the new mentor and then going on the shoot and then doing all the accounting. Like, I could feel my reserves of energy starting to deplete. So I'm already starting to feel that tiredness creep in. But I thought, this is important to me, so I'm going to push just a little bit more. And so I sat up late after I got back from the country, just playing with the gear and learning the settings on the camera and all this type of stuff. And by the time I went to bed by like 10:30, 11, I was like, oh, this is starting to click. Like, actually when I had done the shoot with the photographer on the Wednesday with the boudoir model, we actually reviewed some of my photos and we could see a whole bunch of errors that I'd made technically with the camera, but there was some feedback from her that said, my composition is good. And so that was a tiny little spark of like, okay, there's something here. It wasn't all a waste. And so I could see by this night after I'd finished with the camera gear, I'm like, ooh, I'm starting to feel a little more in tune with the gear, with the tech. There's this little spark of hope. So I went to sleep with this little like injection of like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. Just another iota of trust that I could bring into my body, into my energy field, knowing that what I'm moving towards is something that is here for me, something that I'm meant to be doing. So just went to sleep with that, holding that in my body. And I woke up the next day completely exhausted. And I knew I had to still go and sort out some extra camera gear and lenses to be able to do this shoot on Sunday. So my husband and I drove around a few camera stores and a few bits and pieces, and I was an absolute zombie. And here is one thing that I will say is that sometimes that we can push beyond the energy limitations of our physical body. And we have to be careful of that. There's a difference between being abundant and moving with the energy and being bold and being brave. And then there's the energy of ignoring what we need and doing it from I'm going to push because I've convinced myself that I have to push, that I should push, that I am worthless if I don't push. I am a failure if I don't push. And this is a really dangerous energy to get into because there is moving in the directions of our dreams and being bold and being brave without that scarcity, fear-based driver behind the pushing. So by Saturday lunchtime, I was starting to feel the difference between the brave moves and the fear-based pushing moves. And I had to say to my husband, I'm like, I need to just stop. I need to just spend the rest of the day just chilling, just doing some meditation, maybe watching a movie, having a bath, whatever. I need to make this conscious choice right now in this moment to switch from I have to go get these lenses and get everything perfect and ready for the shoot on Sunday because otherwise I'm going to be a failure. I could feel that buzz starting to happen in my body. I need to go back and just check out and do something chill and relaxing for the rest of the afternoon because otherwise I'm going to charge straight into this photo shoot on Sunday from a scarce energy. And I could already feel that anxiety build in my body and start to peak. And we don't want to do stuff in a state of anxiety because there is so much energy that we can tap into that can ground us, that can bring us back to this wholeness, this calmness, this sense of peace, and then move through bold moves, through bravery with this grounded whole power versus the rattled, scarce, running around anxious type energy. And if you can start to notice the difference in your body when you're wanting to do this big, bold, brave stuff, just really tapping in and saying, is this coming from a grounded, plugged in, source-fueled type bravery move? Or is this being fueled from an anxious, real, physical, adrenal type anxious energy of I have to get this done, else I'm going to fail? If you can start to sense those two different energy currents and then make the powerful choice to trust and switch from one or the other, it makes a complete difference. So by the time I got to the last kind of camera store thing that we had to do on Saturday, I just said to my husband, I need to just disconnect. And so I came home, I laid down, I did a meditation, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't quite nail it. And that's why I really wanted to raise this with you, to start bringing consciousness around where we're sourcing energy from. Because I still, even though I laid down, did meditation, I at some point had decided that this portfolio shoot on Sunday was the make and break of my career. Like, that is just such a crazy thing to decide. This is a portfolio shoot that I had chosen to invest in to gain access to a studio with some fantasy-based sets and models to take photographs to put in my portfolio. And I had somehow made the decision that if I didn't do a good job at this portfolio, I was a failure. A failure as a photographer, a failure as an entrepreneur, a failure as a woman and a human and a soul on this planet. Like, that is a crazy thing to decide out of nowhere, but this is what we do all of the time. You might be listening to this and think of like, yeah, I know I do this too. Like, there's this thing that I really know in my soul that I want to do, or I want to achieve, or I want to have, and we create these arbitrary rules and milestones that we determine are make or break, and it's just not true. And I started to feel this anxiety raise up within me on Sunday morning as I was getting ready to leave for the shoot. And it started to feel like panic stations. I'm like, I don't have the equipment. I've still got to go pick up this lens that I've bought to have for the shoot. And my bag's getting heavy and my hands are sore. And like, I could start to feel this. It's like a cog in your brain that starts to spin up really, really fast with all of this chatter. And I had to just like ground. I went and had a shower. I love showers. Showers are incredible for using the water to just wash anything that is attached to you physically, anything that's in your energy field. Just allow the shower to just cleanse it. So I went and had a shower, washed my hair, and it was just like, there is no make or break here. This is just a beautiful opportunity for me to expand. This doesn't determine the rest of my life. This is just a learning experience. This is just another bold move that I'm choosing to make for feedback, for learning, for expansion in whatever way that it's meant to expand me in this moment. And as soon as I started to reframe it, it made all the difference. All of a sudden it became this portal of opportunity for me to step through, rather than the be all and end all of this is going to define me for the rest of my life. And this can be applied to so many things, which is the beauty of it. Every time that you start to feel yourself creating this massive narrative, this pressure to have either achieved something or gain something out of something that you're about to do, or compare yourself and feel like nothing is shifting, you can just see things as these beautiful portals that are opening up to be able to step you through to the next thing that you're meant to experience, the next thing that you're meant to learn or expand into. And trusting that these portals will continue to open even if we can't see them. So this morning when I woke up and I started to feel those tentacles of despair creep into my mind of like, well, I'm still waking up in the same room. If I check my bank account, I'm sure it's still the same as it was yesterday. It's like, yes, but I have passed through so many portals this week that are changing things behind the scenes, that are changing things within my body, within my braveness, within my ability to manage my anxiety when I'm trying to make bold moves. I know that my physical reality will start to catch up because it's impossible for it to not. We can't make fundamental changes in our energy, in who we are and what we are doing, without the physical reality catching up. That's just how energy works. So if you're having that moment of despair of, well, I'm this age and I haven't achieved this, or I am doing all this stuff and it's not changing, or I'm still just an anxious mess, feeling like I need to go back to the safe, just know that every time you choose yourself, every time you choose to ground, to come back to your energy, to pass through another energetic portal, even although it's invisible, even although you can't see it, you are changing, your world is changing, and your reality will start to catch up. And don't forget, you're never alone. Anytime, reach out to me. I'm here. I would love to hear about the bold moves that you're making, the portals that you're passing through, and to celebrate with you, because every time you choose your bravery is another massive step forward in who you are becoming. I love you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you want to check out all of the behind the scenes content for this podcast, make sure you subscribe to my Substack channel, The Becoming Archive. You'll also be able to find me on Threads and Instagram at andy.matthews. Make sure you're connected and stay up to date with what's coming. If you're not in there yet and you want to get into the private Telegram space where all of these audios drop every day, as well as all the art, the conversation, and the behind the scenes, go to www.andrealeematthews.com/private podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at Andrea Lee Matthews, and you can find more about me and all of my work at andrealeematthews.com. I'll see you in the next transmission.